In country news, Don Williams. Did you know that Don Williams was born on May 27, 1939, Florida, Texas, United States? Williams was the third child of James, a mechanic, and Lavetta May, née Lambert, an amateur musician who entered her son in a local talent show when he was 3 years old. He won first prize, an alarm clock. A few years later, the family settled in Corpus Christi, East Texas, where his mother taught him to play the guitar. When Don graduated from high school in 1958, he was already absorbing both country music and rock and roll, particularly the music of Elvis Presley and Chuck Berry. After high school, Williams served for 2 years in the U.S. Army. Upon returning home, he found work as a bread delivery boy, debt collector, and oil field operator, while performing in local clubs and bars with a friend, Lofton Klein. In 1964, they formed a pop-folk trio with Susan Taylor, calling themselves the Pozo-Seco Singers. The trio recorded albums for Columbia, 2 of which, I Can Make It With You and Look What You've Done, became top 40 pop hits in the United States. But the group failed to build on that success and returned to playing in noisy dance halls and bars, which was anathema to Williams. He later said that, "I swore I would never back myself into that corner again," and the trio disbanded in 1971. Williams set up a furniture business with his father-in-law. He had married Joy Booker in 1960. But he continued writing songs, and when Taylor asked him to contribute to her solo album, Williams accepted a job the following year at a Nashville music publishing company headed by Alan Reynolds. However, the low-key spirit of his compositions ran counter to Nashville's dominant, sophisticated counterpolitan sound, so he and Reynolds decided to record them himself. The result was the album Don Williams Volume 1, 1973, which contained one of his most praised songs, Amanda, described by music historian Bill Malone as combining the flavor of old country music with a mid-range style, modern, road approach. 2 more albums followed before I Wouldn't Want to Live If You Didn't Love Me gave Williams his first #1 country single in 1974. As with most of his later hits, he didn't compose it. The songwriter was Al Turney, who had released the song while serving Williams at a gas station. Williams topped the country singles charts in the United States another 16 times over the next 12 years. Among his greatest successes are You're My Best Friend, 1975, written by Wayland Holyfield, Tulsa Time, 1978, composed by Danny Flowers, guitarist in Williams' touring band, I Believe in You, 1980, which became Williams's only solo American pop hit, and Stay Young, 1983, a cover of the Gallagher and Law song. Williams first visited Britain in 1976 at the invitation of businessman Mervyn Kahn, who promoted the Wembley Festival. Kahn also convinced the British branch of his record company, ABC, to make Williams' albums available during a period when British labels were often reluctant to release country albums for fear that their modern rock image looked tarnished. At the event, partly due to the BBC showing highlights from the Wembley Festival, Williams was a huge hit, both with a hardcore country audience and a wider audience. His single I Recall a Gypsy Woman became a top 20 hit in the UK in the summer of 1976, while her follow-up, You're My Best Friend, reached the top 40 later that year. More than a dozen of his albums reached the UK charts, the most successful being Images, which peaked at #2 in 1978. He made his last British tour in 2014. British country music fans have tended to favor the genre's modest, less flamboyant male exponents such as Jim Reeves, George Hamilton IV, and Don Williams. At the peak of his popularity in the late 1970s and 1980s, Williams headlined the annual Wembley International Country Music Festival, toured Britain and continental Europe, and sold LPs in the hundreds of thousands. He once described his music as intensely simple, but while his love songs were charming and often sentimental and his warm baritone voice was compared to Reeves, he also found admirers among the rock music fraternity. Both Eric Clapton and Pete Townsend recorded versions of their songs. As trends in country music changed, Williams toured less and spent more time with his family at their ranch near Nashville. but many younger musicians held him in high regard. On his latest albums, So It Goes, 2012, and Reflections, 2014, released by Sugar Hill, he was accompanied by artists such as singer Vince Gill and violinist and singer Alison Krauss. A tribute album, Gentle Giants, The Songs of Don Williams, was released earlier this year, featuring Garth Brooks, Keith Urban, and Lady Antebellum covers of his songs. The title was a reference to his nickname, the Gentle Giant. Like Reeves before him, Williams attracted listeners from several continents. He toured Australia and New Zealand, India and Latin America, and was especially popular in Africa, where he had enthusiastic fans in South Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and the Ivory Coast. Williams received many honors from the country music community. He received the 1978 Male Entertainer of the Year award dressed in a suit of faded blue jeans, a jean jacket, and a worn hat designed for him when he appeared with Burt Reynolds in the 1975 film WW and the Dixie Dance Kings. He was also inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2010, but was too ill with bronchitis to attend in person. He retired from live performance in 2016. He is survived by Joy, his sons Gary and Timmy, and 4 grandchildren. Donald Ray Williams, singer and songwriter, born May 27, 1939, died on September 8, 2017. Don will always be remembered for your great contribution to country music. In this video, we remember you with affection.